Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you had not had the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com, and follow us on Instagram at justsayNoGWJS for article and video updates. Week 6 continues at 9:30 in the morning. Yes, you heard me correct. 9:30 in the morning. Again, another London game, which I love because it starts so much earlier for us. We have the Miami Dolphins, actually are the away team going into Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars in London. Jack, what are your thoughts on this one?
Man, I mean, hopefully that'll give Jacksonville some sort of advantage as they really need it, man. They're right now looking for their first win. Miami played a game, last week against a tough Tom Brady in that Buccaneers offense. But this week, I'm very interested to see, James Robinson definitely against this offense. The last couple of weeks, he's been great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're looking at what he did last week, 18 attempts, 149 yards, a touchdown. He was phenomenal last week. And I'm looking at this. This is a really winnable game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is an opportunity for them to really get that first win of the season after everything that's been going on with Urban Meyer, and just sort of like move on from that, get Trevor Lawrence's first win in the NFL. He hasn't lost any, he only lost 4 games in college and high school. All right. Now he's already in the NFL. He's already lost 5. He lost more games in the NFL than he has his entire life already. I'm going to go with the Jaguars. I think they're going to surprise. They're going to London. They're going to ride the James Robinson train. I expect a lot of Marvin Jones. I think Trevor Lawrence does look good for the most part. Yes, he's turning the ball over a lot, and you don't want to see that. But I think this is a weekend that they have a good opportunity against a pretty weak Dolphins defense.
Yeah, and on the other side, I'm looking at it as these guys just on both sides of the ball need to kind of figure it out. They are both end of the pack when it comes to points scored and the points allowed. So this is an easy matchup for both of them. It just depends on who's going to come out on top. But Jacksonville, they are 6th right now in rush yards per game. Miami is last in rush yards per game. There's about a 59 yardage between them per game. So it's very interesting if Jacksonville is able to control the clock. They can get Trevor Lawrence's first win. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, you going with Jacksonville?
I'm gonna go with Jacksonville, definitely. I like the James Robinson factor in their young defense, definitely.
Yep. All right. I love it. Moving on at 1:00, Kansas City Chiefs heading to Washington, taking on the football team. Break that one down for us, bud.
Yeah, Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs definitely need a win. They've had a tough season so far and definitely not where we expected them to be. On the other side of the ball, we're looking at Washington and their defense. Last year, as we mentioned, they are one of the best. And, now it's a little bit different. It's been a little bit tougher. They are second worst in giving up points. But Kansas City, they're the last in giving up points right now. Both teams giving over 30 points a game. I think this could be an interesting matchup for both Pat Mahomes and Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, I think this is like the battle of the offenses, which is weird to say just because their defenses aren't very strong. So all that being said, I'm not going to hit the panic button yet on the Chiefs. I don't think they're about to just go and lose a bunch of games, have a losing record. I still think that they're one of the main contenders in the AFC, one of the big contenders in all of NFL. I just think that they're hitting the rocky road. Some teams are figuring them out. Now you got to make those midseason adjustments, find new ways to win. That being said, this is a great opportunity for them to get a win that they desperately need after last week's embarrassing loss to the Bills. A lot of turnovers, a lot of sloppy plays, a lot of drops. Defenses didn't look like they were there. This is an opportunity for Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, get back on the same page. Travis Kelce get involved. I'm going with the Chiefs. I just think that they're going to be able to put up more points than Washington is going to be able to. And I think that's what's really going to get them the win.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City for me is a lock in this one. When you go back, it's never good to look back in the past, but since 2001, Kansas City in their 5 matchups for Washington has never lost. They've been able to come in, especially in the last couple of years in the Pat Mahomes, era. They haven't been able to go through here, but like you said, the Chiefs desperately need a win. I'm looking at this Tyreek Hill and Terry McLaurin matchup. Huge favorable matchups for them. Both of them are just killing it this year. Very excited for, the offense and, no Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the Chiefs. It's going to be the Darrell Williams show there. Maybe see a little of Jerick McKinnon, but, I think it's going to be, a good win for Kansas City, and they're in a tight division, man.
Yeah, they really are. Right now, they're currently last. Unusual to say. Can't believe it. It's coming out of my mouth. But moving on. LA Rams coming to New York, taking on your Giants. But I'm so sorry. You guys are injury riddled. Saquon Barkley's injured. Daniel Jones is injured. Kenny Galladay is injured. Darius Slayton is injured. Sterling Shepard is injured. Andrew Thomas got injured. Kadarius Toney punched a guy, which was not your week last week. I'm very sorry. So, what are your thoughts on this game with a really, really tough Rams team coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I just, I hope that Daniel Jones is able to, play. He's still in the concussion protocol right now. I'm hoping that, we're able to get a lot of production out of Devontae Booker. But what a game to have where you have, all those stars go down. You have your top three receivers go down, your quarterback, your running backs out for a couple weeks. You just get them back after injury. But, I got to give some credit. The Rams this year, they have been dominant. They have been one of the more dominant teams in the league. But it really comes down to that. I think that this would have been a very interesting game with Barkley. But I got to get, like I said, this, Ramsey versus Kadarius Toney, a rookie who just had a breakout game. He's going up against a very, very tough corner in Jalen Ramsey. And, I'm loving what, the Rams offense is doing too.
Yeah, I love what this Rams offense is doing. I'm locking in the Rams with all the injuries to the Giants, with what Aaron Donald can do to a fairly weak Giants offensive line. Jalen Ramsey not really having to cover necessarily one of the more elite wide receivers in the game. I do think that Toney has shown some flash that when he gets the ball in his hand, he can make a lot of plays happen. I think he has a really, really bright future in the NFL based on that game against the Cowboys. That being said, I don't think that this is going to be the Giants game when you're missing your top guys pretty much at every single major position, and you're even got injuries on defense. This is going to be a tough one. There's Cooper Kupp, there's Robert Woods, there's Henderson. A lot of weapons on this team, really solid defense. I just don't think it's going to be the Giants who can got to go with the Rams.
Yeah, and the Rams, just the way they've been able to produce points, I got to lock them in here as well. They're a top 10 team when it comes to scoring right now, and their passing yards, they're second in passing yards right now. Daniel Jones, he's probably going to have to take it a little easy next week. Tough game to have at home, but I think the Rams get this one. The next one we got the Colts hosting the Houston Texans, and a couple of interesting storylines for these teams last week. We got Davis Mills coming in, has a couple starts under his belt. He has a great game against the Patriots, who usually destroy, these receivers. But both of these teams, 1-4, as we mentioned before, a little, pretty, winnable division with Jacksonville. Are we interested in this game? Is this something or is it going to be the Colts defense taking him over this week?
I am already going to go with the Colts. I think that the game last week that they put together up against the Ravens up until pretty much the third quarter was fantastic football. That's exactly what you want to see from this team. That's exactly what this Frank Wright led unit can definitely do.
Absolutely.
I was very quick to say with all the injuries, they won't stand a chance, and they came up, put up 22 points. They ultimately lost the game. Thanks to an amazing performance by Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
But this is Davis Mills. This is not Lamar Jackson. Davis Mills did have a great game last week. And, notoriously the Patriots usually shut that down. He was 21 of 29, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, looked really comfortable in that entire system. So I do expect him to play well and perform well. ESPN updates, man. And to perform well in this game and this matchup. But this is a divisional matchup. He's going to be on the road. He's not at home this time. I got to lean with the Colts. I love that they're finally getting Jonathan Taylor a lot more involved. He's looking really good. His speed is crazy, dude. He just ran right past the Ravens defense on that little HB screen.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day when we were doing the breakdown for Monday night. I'm like, oh, man, I just need Taylor to be productive. And a 72-yard touchdown last week, shows that he is getting involved and he is capable of making big plays. Very favorable matchup for them. Definitely an easier matchup than last week with the Ravens defense. Easier matchup for a rookie quarterback than a former MVP in Lamar Jackson, especially at home. I think I like the Colts here. We saw a lot of motivation out of them last week. They're definitely a team to watch down the line, especially in this division. Michael Pittman doing great this year, 29 catches, 368, and a touchdown. And, on the other side, you got Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, this is an interesting matchup. We saw a couple of the Colts guys go down, but it's looking like a Colts kind of day.
Yeah, I think so. And, they want to make the playoffs. They were just there this year. This 1-4 start is unusual for them. They want to get back on track. This is absolutely the game to do it. Moving on. We have the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Detroit, taking on the 0-5 Lions. Lions can't catch a break. They lost last week to my Vikings on a last-minute field goal, becoming the first team, I think, in NFL history to lose on back-to-back, or not back-to-back, to lose 2 games to 2 50-yard field goals while time expires down to 0. So Lions still breaking history despite their 0-5 start.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about Matthew Stafford, how good the Rams are. I'm sure that he is happy he's not a part of this 0-5 start. Jared
Yep.
Goff on the other side. This team, Dan Campbell, these guys are, really fighting. Some of these games they're not supposed to win, they are keeping themselves in. But
Yeah.
man, this is a really tough matchup. Cincinnati, we've been talking about them all season. They are really on the come up. Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon right now going in, expecting to be fully healthy this week. The Bengals, as I said, they're looking good. I like them in this game, especially going into Detroit.
No, absolutely. They're back and fully healthy pretty much on offense. Got all 3 of their wide receivers back. This is a very beatable Detroit secondary. I don't think the Lions are like the Texans where you can just, or like the Jaguars, you can just steamroll over them and expect easy win against them. This is a team that will fight you tooth and nail. Go after your needs, as Dan Campbell says.
Yeah.
So you can't just count them out as this is an easy W. You got to still treat them with some respect, but the Bengals offense is just so good. They were absolutely electric last week against the Packers. Weird game against the Packers last week for sure, but Jamar Chase making deep touchdowns, making deep plays, really knowing the secondary for the Lions. I got to go with the Bengals in this one for sure.
Yeah, and we've been talking about the Bengals defense really stepping up. I think that this is going to be another game where they're able to, take a lead from, in the beginning of the game. And, as long as Joe Burrow is good, if he's not good, I'm expecting a huge game from Joe Mixon, definitely. If he is good, I am expecting him to, be fully healthy going in. And if we want to obviously, keep him that way. And the thing is, this is, like you mentioned, this isn't a bad team. This is a pretty good defense. These games with the Lions have been tight, but it's looking like Cincinnati, definitely.
Absolutely. Moving on, a little NFC North battle when the Green Bay Packers head to Chicago to take on the Bears. Justin Fields got his first win as a rookie last week. Surprised both of us against the Raiders. That was really nice to see. What are your thoughts on this one?
Man, I mean, isn't it always interesting? I know these are your 2 favorite teams, obviously, but I think it's gonna be, it's interesting. The first time that we get to see Justin Fields matching up with Aaron Rodgers in this division. Both the teams have winning records. Always exciting to see an interdivisional matchup when they're both winning. But yeah, the Bears looked like they were able to, kind of get things a little more together last week against the Raiders, who, they weren't able to really accumulate anything in that game. And I think it's a good thing for the Bears. They need to start, realizing what the potential is in this quarterback. But I got to say, that Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams stack is the X factor for me for why I think the Packers could win this week.
Yeah, no, I got to go with the Packers. It just seems that Aaron Rodgers always has their number. I think that Randall Cobb looked to really get more involved. He had that clutch catch last week against the Bengals that ultimately led to finally the game sealing field goal after like 8 missed attempts by both kickers for the Bengals and the Packers. So I expect a huge Randall Cobb game. And if you go back to 2013, it was Cobb that caught the game-winning touchdown that ultimately knocked the Bears out of the playoffs, sending the Packers into the playoffs way back when. These two guys know each other. These teams know each other. And despite the win last week for the Bears, Justin Fields still threw under 120 yards, only had the 1 touchdown. There isn't going to be Damian Williams in this game. He got moved to the COVID list. Expect a lot of Khalil Herbert. There's going to be a lot of changes. This is a very tough game. This is a very different game. This is not the Raiders that you're playing. This is the Packers. This is a long-standing rivalry. This game means so much more. It's like when Ohio State plays Michigan. He knows what those games are like. There's that historical factor in that. I think this is going to be a great game. It's going to be fun to see Fields to play in this one, see how he does in his first game against the Packers. But what Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers can do and Randall Cobb can do, you got to lean with them in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I want to lean the Packers, and it's a tough choice for me. I want to lean with them because of what we've seen in the last couple of weeks since that week 1 collapse. They've been able to win 4 straight, which is great. They've also won 4 straight in their last 4 against Chicago, and Chicago's had a couple of different quarterbacks back then. Right now, with Justin Fields where he's at, for me, if anything, it's really the Chicago defense that's going to make me choose them in this because they are only giving about 20 points a game. If there's going to be a team that can, disrupt Aaron Rodgers for a week, it could be this team. But Aaron Rodgers and the way that this team has been able to figure it out the last couple of weeks, I am going with them in this one. Devontae Adams is leading all receivers right now with 42 catches. He has 579 yards. He's
The
averaging
first in
over
every
100.
category, like
He's
every
just
major category. He's
exactly.
first.
He's got 10 plays over 20 yards. I just don't think that the Bears are going to be able to contain him this week. So I'm going with the Packers like you.
Gotta love it. All right, moving on. Little potential AFC playoff matchup here when the
Definitely.
LA Chargers make their way to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Chargers had an electric game last week against the Browns, man. And the Ravens had an even more entertaining game on Sunday Night Football. As we mentioned earlier in the Colts bit, a 22-point deficit.
Insane.
Lamar came out on top looking phenomenal.
Yeah, Lamar's out there. He just absolutely dominated last week. It's such an impressive amount of records that he was able to set last week. The amount of, the 40 attempts, the most amount of accuracy in a 40 attempt game. He had 85% last week. Just absolutely blew the Colts out of the water in the second half. But very exciting for him. This is going to be a great game. I love both of these teams on both sides of the ball. But the way that I'm just very excited because, the way that Mike Williams and Marquise Brown have come up, there's a very interesting, receiver dynamic here. And, I'm just very excited for this one.
No, absolutely. And I'm looking at this team and I'm just thinking about how high powered that Chargers offense is and what we saw last week. It was just every drive towards the end, they were able to score and do whatever they wanted against the Browns. I'm going to lean with the Chargers in this one, even though what Lamar did last week was one of his best performances that I've seen in his entire career. Yeah, I thought he was absolutely amazing. He's proving to everyone why he's actually a quarterback, why he should have been drafted quarterback, why he was drafted quarterback, why he was an MVP, why no one's going to be able to figure out his game if he's able to do things like this and his running ability. This is definitely a playoff team and potential Super Bowl champion in the future, I think, under Lamar Jackson. But I don't know if this weekend's going to get it done. I just think that you got Marlon Humphreys in to cover Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen will still find a few ways to get the ball here and there. But then you got to cover Austin Eckler and Jared Cook and Mike Williams. And Mike Williams had a monster day last week. It was actually terrifying watching. When 8 receptions, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then, Austin Eckler has just been doing everything on the ground, 50 receiving yards last week, a touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. He's literally doing it all. So this offense can score and it can score a lot. And I just don't know if the defense of the Ravens has enough to stop every single weapon that the Chargers offense brings.
Yeah, you bring up a really, really good point there. The amount that they're just able to score and the scheme that they're in right now under Brandon Staley, it's really exciting to watch. The Chargers right now 6th in scoring, Baltimore 9th in scoring. When it comes to giving points, LA is 12th and Baltimore is 14th. This is such a tight matchup for me. But I do really love what I saw out of the Ravens offense last week. That is really what I loved, seeing the fact that they were able to use Latavius Murray to the best of his ability, using Marquise Brown, deep. I think that this passing offense is getting a lot better. Last year we saw the Ravens, a big problem with them was that they weren't passing enough. And now I think it's a completely different thing. I am loving the Ravens this year. I think I'm going to ride Lamar this week at home in Baltimore, a tough place to play. I'm going to go with them in this Ravens defense against Justin Herbert.
And nothing wrong with that. Moving on, last game of the 1 p.m. slot, my Minnesota Vikings heading to Carolina, taking on the Panthers. Jack, what are your thoughts on this one?
Man, Alexander Madison, right? The guy came in last week. He stepped up. Very, very great game planning by your team going in. This is a very interesting matchup for me with the Panthers. We're wondering right now with Christian McCaffrey missing practices this week, who is it going to be this week? Is it going to be a healthy Christian McCaffrey or are we getting Chuba Hubbard?
I think you got to go with Chuba.
You got to go with Chuba when you got to watch these, especially anybody who's a McCaffrey owner. You have to watch the projections this week between him and Chuba. Is McCaffrey going to play? It's a huge factor. And I'm excited, though, because if we could get a Dalvin McCaffrey matchup, that would be insane to me.
No, it absolutely would be. That'd be a lot of fun. Speaking of Dalvin Cook, he's been a limited participant this week. Looks like going in the direction of playing. That's huge for the Vikings offense. Justin Jefferson had a great week last week. I was blown away by him. You got to be giving him the ball so much more. Want to see a little bit more from Adam Thielen. You got to get him involved. You can't just let him sit there on the sideline. This is going to be a very, very tough matchup, I think, for the Vikings against a really, really solid defense in the Panthers. This offensive line is going to have a challenge going up against the speed of these defensive ends that they have in Brian Burns and Shaq Thompson. I think this could also be a really big game for DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and Sam Darnold. I think that the Vikings, they're middle of the pack, only only around 13th, only giving up around 238 yards a game. This is really an opportunity for them to take advantage of the weak secondary, maybe abuse Bashaud Breeland a little bit against DJ Moore, and really try to put up a lot of points. All that being said, I'm going to go with the Vikings. I feel like we just know that we need to get this win if we want to have any hope of continuing the playoffs. I loved how fired up Kirk Cousins was after the game, coming up to Zimmer saying you like that, getting in his face and, kind of punching him in the chest. I like how animated he was. I've never seen that from him. I feel like his entire career that made me actually want to root for him for a change of pace. So I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. Hopefully they don't disappoint. I'll be wearing my Dalvin Cook jersey on Sunday, hoping for a big game from him.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, Carolina right now is very interesting. Their defense is playing fantastic, giving up less than 20 points a game.
I know.
But the Vikings, they're giving up around 21. And we saw last week what a disrupted Vikings, defense like the Vikings can do and, kind of put the game on their back a little by stopping the other team with some huge drives. The one thing about Carolina, though, they're kind of the same, but we saw what happens with Philly when, Philly starts disrupting Sam Darnold. He's throwing 3 interceptions. I think the Vikings this week need to create a lot of pressure on him and really just start to, break down this young defense with Kirk Cousins, his accuracy this year. Like you mentioned, it's going to take everybody for the Vikings to do it. For me, I'm loving what the Panthers are doing. Sorry, buddy, but I have to go with the Panthers on this one. McCaffrey or not, this defense for the Panthers, I just can't believe what they've been able to do this year. And I think that's going to be the determining factor. We've seen the Vikings, especially in the Browns game, where, they may have gotten a little shut down, by a tough defense. But I do believe that this is going to be a very close game. I'm looking at it like Sam Darnold is going to make a lot more mistakes than Kirk Cousins, and the Vikings can win this game as long as their defense is being disruptive to this offense.
Yeah, gotta hope for the best, man. But that is all the time that we have. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys all for checking this out. Just Saying Football on YouTube, justsayingfootball.com, and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your video and article updates. Thank you.
Thank you.